And we're back with another snack pack for you right here at the Lakers Fast Break. It is Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here. Thanks so much for watching us and truly appreciate it. Tonight on Martin Luther King Day, it is going to be a great matchup as the Lakers play host to the Oklahoma City Thunder right here in Los Angeles at the Crypt. And here today to discuss the different paths that these two teams have taken as we're at the halfway point virtually for most of these teams. Good man indeed. You got to go ahead and check out what he's doing today at lineups.com or thunderousintentions.com. Either way, you can go ahead and check out all the great work that he's writing about right there for you. It is a returning Braxton Reynolds. And Braxton, great to have you here, my friend. Always looking forward to hearing your thoughts on the rising tide known as the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely great to have you here. Yeah. I mean, you tell me, you guys are riding the highs of highs right now. I mean, this team, which we all knew was on the path to good fortunes. I even think you might have, everyone out there might have underestimated the staying power and the absolute great start that this team has had, but they're 27-11. They're a half game out of the first place in the Western Conference, one of the best records in the NBA. And after watching them, and not just with the Lakers, but out there in the NBA, they're not a fluke. They're not a joke. And I believe they got a chance really to go ahead and do some damage this year in the NBA.
Yeah, they have the MVP candidate. They have a Coach of the Year candidate, Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and Rookie of the Year candidate. So really, they've had success on all levels, both sides of the ball and coaching. And I think, your point that no one really predicted this is definitely true, because I think most people saw, fourth seed, fifth seed, optimistic. No one saw Chet Holmgren being this good, this fast. I mean, second shortest Defensive Player of the Year odds. He is third in block percentage, third in contested shots per game. The man is on another level defensively. He might be already top 5 for centers, top 10 definitely. When you have that kind of force and you have these perimeter defenders, it changes the defense because guys can switch, they can defend at all levels. And I think that's really the reason why they have ascended to this level. And then offensively, he's giving you 18, he's giving you 7, he's giving you 55, 40, 80 shooting splits. I mean, I think Chet Holmgren being this good, this fast is why OKC has ascended to where they are right now.
I'll tell you what, though, it has been incredible to watch this team. I've been very, I've been an admirer of what they've done, the work that they've done, and a little bit envious about Sam Presti has built this team and still has a plethora. I think I said a ton last time I was talking to you of assets still remaining because you have a whole bunch of draft picks that you can use as capital. So if you feel like the time is now, if your team feels like the time is now, they can just throw an abundance of draft picks at anyone and get virtually any player that's out there on the marketplace right now.
Well, here's what OKC could do. They could cut every single player on their roster, use all of their first-round picks, and still have to make cuts. They have more than 15 first-round picks in the near future. So you can pretty much, like you said, get anyone outside of the Jokic, Giannis. Those guys are untouchable. But any all-star plus player, OKC could go get them if they wanted to right now. They could have, Larry Markkanen's a popular name. Mikal Bridges is a popular name. That kind of tier, I think they could pretty much go for that right now or in the near future, whenever they decide to pull the trigger, really.
I'll tell you what, it is great to have you here. Once again, it's Braxton Reynolds. Please go ahead and support Braxton today on lineups.com and also thunderousintentions.com. When you look at this team, though, again, 27-11 with a chance to tie for the Western Conference lead tonight with a victory over the Lakers. Let's hope, I'm sorry for me, that that's not going to be the case because I do want the Lakers to win. But it is a realistic point where you could say that this team is doing so well, they have a chance to go ahead and be in first place in the Western Conference by the end of the evening. How enjoyable is that after so many years of suffering, seeing, well, you know, OKC fans, some OKC fans wanted to go ahead and push this sooner. Some wanted to go ahead at a slower pace, and just not everybody always aligning with what Sam Presti had as far as his vision. Sam Presti's vision is absolutely paying off right now.
Yeah, I mean, the Paul George trade is the stepping stone for what they are now. It was a masterful trade, and they didn't rush it last year when they had a pretty good record. They made the play-in, one game away from the playoffs. They could have made a move at the deadline, but Presti wanted to see what Chet Holmgren is, what he provides to the team, what their subsequent weaknesses are. So now that Presti's kind of had a glimpse, I think he does make a move at the deadline, because you have Jalen Williams, you have Chet Holmgren on rookie contracts for 2 more seasons. You have Isaiah Joe on a steal contract, Kenrich Williams on a steal contract. There's a lot of money that OKC could absorb right now and not have to contend with, breaking up the core, because the salary cap doesn't really allow it. You're paying too much tax. So I think at this moment, Presti has to juggle. Do I break up the current, flow of the roster, the current core? Because, SGA, Jalen Williams, their roles are pretty much cemented. Do you want to break up that third spot with, Chet Holmgren's volume or Josh Giddey's volume and add another guy like Bridges or Markkanen? Now is the time to do it if you're in that camp. Or if you want to wait, to see for a better player, perhaps, you might risk being too late. Your window might be a little closed because of the salary issue that you would then, have to struggle with. So I think Presti is juggling this act of, you don't want to rush it, but, you also don't want to miss your window because of salary and, because of injury too. You never know what happens. So I think Presti is in a bit of a bind right now for that reason.
Once again, it is Braxton Reynolds. Please go ahead and support what he's doing today at lineups.com and thunderousintentions.com. But also here today is a good man indeed. He's a happier man because we're trying this out on StreamYard. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice, the madman from Toronto. He did get out of Toronto traffic to talk to Braxton Reynolds right here for us. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice. And Sean, great to have you here. I apologize. I was finagling around and setting all things up because when you upgrade, you get more stuff that you can do. So I apologize for that. Getting all set for our big night tonight. First Braxton Reynolds, then Laker Tom, then the game, then the post game. It's Lakers fast break until you die tonight. So it's all good, my friend. So let Braxton know what you're thinking, my friend, because OKC's in town in Los Angeles, looking like they have a real chance with the victory tonight to tie the Minnesota Timberwolves for first place in the Western Conference. But the Lakers are a desperate, hungry team looking for a victory themselves.
100% Gerald. And before we start, I just want to say welcome back, Braxton. Happy to have you here again, man. Gerald, thank you very much. StreamYard is excellent. It's about, I feel it's about time.
And as you say that, you would go out once. That would be so funny. Like, the StreamYard is excellent, and all of a sudden,
brown out all of a sudden, but
no,
he did that on purpose. He did that on purpose. I know he did.
I did. Yes. Go ahead, my friend. Go ahead.
But yeah, I was listening to what Braxton had to say, and yeah, I think that's 100% true. I will say this though, amongst all the GMs we've seen over the past decade or so, Braxton, it feels that no matter what kind of Temple of Doom situation Sam Presti finds himself in, he always seems to get out of the cave without a lick. My question to you is, I don't think people really should be that surprised at the success of the team, given the fact that, the average age is, I think, around 24, just a little under 25. And, a lot of these guys are 24 going on 36. Like the maturity level for this team is fantastic. And my question to you is, it almost seems now that Presti understands his staff just as well as he understands scouting. So it's almost as if he looks for what the right fit is personally, just as important as you fit, professionally. And it looks like he's found just a really nice niche and a balance that a lot of GMs, I don't think, maybe understand as they get into the job. Maybe becomes too overwhelming, but it seems that Sam has a system in place now and it just works. And my question to you is, there's a lot of talk about them adding somebody, another piece. Do you think that might be preemptive given the fact that you might want to see how far this group can go without additional help?
That's a good question. I think that's definitely the case of, do you want to do a premature move while you have the salary window, or do you want to see what, OKC can do with this current core? I think whatever veteran they bring in will have to have the understanding that they are the third or fourth option and they have to buy into this culture. Presti drafts people and not players. When he's scouting guys, he's saying, how does this personality fit into my core of selfless, really team basketball? Chet Holmgren, he's a guy that just says, I don't care about numbers. I want to just do the right play for the right team and, really do what's best for the team. And that's really important when you're scouting potential trade targets for OKC, because a lot of veterans that you trade for that will be high impact players wouldn't want to be the fifth guy or the sixth guy or the seventh guy. So I think Presti has to juggle that too. He does look at personality instead of just, the talent or the player. I think it's a fair argument that Presti shouldn't make a move, like a big move, because of how you want to see them respond in the playoffs. I think I'm the opposite just because of salary. The new CBA is so harsh on teams that have a lot of salary. And Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren are going to get massive extensions. SGA is on a big contract. Giddey presumably will get, not a massive one, but a big one. And then role players too are pretty expensive.
Let me ask you this though: do you think he's worth over 100 as far as on his new contract, 100 million, Josh Giddey? And by the way, Magic Man, Tango Soro. But 100 million. Do you think he's worth 100 million on his contract?
I think I would say 25 per year sounds fair.
Okay, so you'd say four for 100 or 5 for 125. I would probably say it would probably be 4 for 100 because he'd probably want to, buy out, or how they do that as far as he would bet on himself, because he would still be 28 at the end of his next contract, 29 in that range.
Yeah, it all adds up though. That's the problem for OKC. When you have too much talent, you have to pay them all. So if you have this window, that's the counter argument for going for it now instead of waiting.
So let me bring it back to you on that. Because Joe, when we've discussed OKC, Joe Soro, he has always come back to the fact that Sam Presti, was told or couldn't pay. Well, he was told by the ownership that to not pay for James Harden. Thus, James Harden was shipped out to Houston, and what happened there. I'm not going to repeat the history of that. Could history repeat itself if things become too expensive and the Oklahoma City Thunder are at a NBA Finals level like they were before, or a serious playoff contender? Let's say a top 4 Western Conference team, and they get expensive. They're all lining up to go ahead and get paid. Will that be a problem for you following the team because you've seen this scenario before?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different position from James Harden because, all the way back then, this was a new franchise and they were still building their fan base, still building revenue. At this point, I think OKC has cemented themselves with the city, with the new arena deal, that I think the owner would be willing to pay more in tax than he did in the past. Although, I can't say that for certain, obviously. And as for salary, you can get a guy that expires before Jalen and Chet are up for new contracts. So the next 2 seasons are the window. And, you look at a guy like Mikal Bridges, he's signed for the next 2 years, about $25 million per year. And then you can just let him go after that. You get his 3 playoff runs with him, 3 prime years, see how he fits with this core. And then if they don't win it by then you enter this new era of managing the big 3 on new contracts.
Okay. That's very sound indeed. Once again, it is Braxton Reynolds. Please go ahead and support him today on lineups.com and thunderousintentions.com. Magic Man, more for Braxton?
Absolutely. Braxton, it looks like Mark Daigneault has improved in a couple of areas, but he was always a sound coach. There was never any question about how balanced he was, but it looks like he's really, really improved as far as like in-game adjustments. That's obviously number one for me. And number two is he is really, really able to vocalize exactly what he wants the guys to do in the huddles. It looks as though there's a purpose and the guys understand him, and that communication is so important because unfortunately our coach is not a very good communicator with either his players or us. Have you noticed that as well? And is there anything else you've noticed that Mark's like significantly improved on or gotten better at that you're really, really liking?
Yeah, first of all, OKC leads the NBA in points per possession out of timeouts. One, because it's Josh Giddey's passing out of, sideline, out of bounds, baseline, whichever it is. He's an amazing passer. But Mark's creativity, drawing up plays, it's one of the best storylines of young coaches I've seen recently. I mean, he's very good at the X's and O's. And then as for leadership, I would say all the players are really behind him. And this kind of culture that Sam Presti has built, it's really in the sense that they love the coach, they follow the coach, they'll play hard for him, play hard for their teammates. So I think Mark really has the locker room under control and, a lot of unity in that locker room. As for adjustments, he's had a tough time because they're kind of juggling this timeline of developing guys like Ousmane Dieng or, Trey Mann versus competing right now. So his rotations have been, a little bit clustered and a little bit unfocused at times because they are, in a sense, juggling 2 timelines of competing and developing. But overall, I think he's done a good job of mixing up lineups. For example, SGA plays the whole first quarter, and they bring in Isaiah Joe at around the 2-minute mark, 3-minute mark, and they have 3 minutes of those 2 on the court against, typical bench players when they sub in. Those 2 are outscoring opponents by, roughly 20 points per 100 possessions when they're on the court because they have so much synergy in that high pick and roll when they run Joe screening for SGA because you have the shooter going out to the 3-point line, you have SGA driving. I mean, it's such a deadly combination. Mark knows that the bench guys, they're not going to be able to defend that because bench guards are usually, 6-man scorers. They're not really defenders. So he really exploits that. That's one to me that I love seeing, the SGA Joe combination at the end of the first quarter. It's really deadly. Mark's used it a lot. And, I would look for it in this game tonight if he does it.
Once again, it is Braxton Reynolds. Please go ahead and support him today at lineups.com and thunderousintentions.com. And again, for someone who follows the team such as you do, it is imperative for everyone out there to understand that even you thought that this team, playoffs was something that you had talked about last time we were on the air. Now it's something even more imperative for you as far as this team is concerned, that now you're talking playoff run, you're talking long playoff run. Now you're even hinting at possible finals run if everything falls into place. So how has your thinking changed from when you went into the season to where you are now about exactly where this team is going to go, and how does that change or affect your writing when you're talking about it for all the different various factors in your articles?
I mean, I think I said the 4th or 5th seed when you had me on earlier. That's kind of where I thought they were going to be, a good playoff team, put up a good fight in the first round, maybe get to the second round, depending on how good Chet Holmgren was. I did not see this. I mean, this is a legitimate title contender at the moment. All the metrics back it up. The eye test backs it up. The record against elite teams backs it up. So my perception of this team has really changed. I would have been happy with a second round performance, just getting there before the season. Now I think this team could make the conference finals. And before that, if they don't make the conference finals, I would be a little bit disappointed. That's how my perception has changed. And I think most people in this fan base would say the same thing too.
Tell you what, though, your team is looking excellent so far. So I truly appreciate you talking to us about it. It is really, how should I say, it's really good to have someone out there that can give us a beat on OKC because, as I talked to you before, it was really hard finding experts on the Thunder. And not just because of the logistical area or anything like that. Well, partially that may be the case, but it's just finding people and individuals out there who have a really good feel for what the OKC Thunder is all about. It's mainly more of like general NBA reporters and things like that. And Magic Man, you scared me because I thought you had a brownout, but then I saw your note after that. So yeah, everything is all good.
No, I'm good, Gerald. I almost pulled a Jack Nicholson from As Good as It Gets when Cuba Gooding Jr. is knocking on his door.
Yes. Okay. No worries. No worries. But did you have any more questions for Braxton? I'm trying to see what I can do because Laker Tom is canceled for this evening. So
absolutely,
trying to see what we can do for our pregame. Here
absolutely. So of the core group, Braxton, that you've seen so far. So looking ahead, and obviously, we tend to do that in this line of work. That being said, what do you see as the best of both worlds for the OKC Thunder? Like you were talking about the salary cap, and obviously that's really important. But as far as fit goes, what do you think would be the best fit? Not players per se, but let's say skill set that would accentuate what the Thunder already have and propel them into true contendership for the next 5 to 10 years.
I think for as good as Josh Giddey has been recently, I don't think he really fits the core trio because playmaking is his biggest skill. They don't really need that. SGA and Jalen Williams are both very good playmakers, and Chet has a developing passing game too. I think they need a bigger power forward that can rebound, that can shoot, and that hustles hard on defense. And I think that skill set would blend well with Chet and Jalen Williams in that front court. It would help fix their rebounding woes, which is a big problem for them. They're 29th in opponent offensive rebound rate, 30th in opponent putback frequency. They lead the league in points per possession, but they never have more possessions than the opponent. If they were even average rebounding, they would be the 1 seed, no question. So I think a rebounding 4 would be huge for them, and one that can shoot too, because SGA is the best driver in the league. And if you have him with shooters, it's pretty hard to stop. So
Siakam is not going to be on that list because he doesn't rebound great, nor does he shoot the ball well. Sorry, no. Kurt.
No, he does not shoot well. Siakam would not do well in this roster, also because I don't think he would give up the shooting volume that he would have to give up for this core.
Okay. Fair enough. But that's because as soon as I put that on there, I heard you talking like, maybe I should hide that comment because that's exactly what he doesn't want right now in Oklahoma, because you have to give the majority of the shots to SGA and his efficiency right now. I see him taking about 20 to 25 shots a game. He needs that in order to go ahead and for the entire team. He needs to have that volume. He needs to have that ball more than anybody and a predominant amount of time, not just for scoring purposes, Braxton, but also because he's a better facilitator than at any point in time in his career as well.
Yeah, SGA has to have the ball. He has to be ball dominant. And then Jalen Williams, too, can be that, Paul George to Kawhi Leonard in a sense, that kind of role. I think, if you're talking power forwards that kind of fit that archetype, Dorian Finney-Smith is a name you could watch, rebounding, defense, shooting, that
well,
kind of.
We talked about Markkanen, but that looks like as long as Utah keeps winning, and Darren put that in the post, that seems to be fading away as Utah keeps winning.
Yeah, that appears to be a pipe dream now.
Yes. But that would have been somebody you would have been interested in, correct?
Yeah, I've wanted Marketing since August. I think that was my preseason trade that I wanted the most because he just fit everything perfectly of what they needed. Now, I don't think Utah will part with him.
Why would you? I mean, they're now in the playoff chase, so it really doesn't make any sense why they would do that unless Danny Ainge is really trying to load up on even more future assets. Unless he can get, or he can find it, he thinks he can find an easy replacement for Larry Markkinen, and he can get a whole bunch of draft picks from OKC in doing so, which is a possibility because OKC can throw those things out there like candy right now.
Yeah, I mean, a package around Josh Giddey, Usman Jang, and 6 first-round picks, 7 first-round picks is
You get a
feasible.
first round pick, and you get a first round pick, and you get a first round pick. How about that?
Yeah, like I said earlier, they
Absolutely.
can cut their entire roster, use their first-round picks, and still have to cut people because they have too many.
So it's Braxton. It sounds like a versatile 4 would kind of change things dramatically, almost as if the insertion of Aaron Gordon in Denver's starting lineup really, really, really propelled them. So of the just a few names, I mean, Obi Toppin, Kyle Kuzma, I think from what you were saying, if they're asking him to rebound and shoot, I mean that could be a fit. I mean, he really fit in well with the Lakers when they asked him to do that, especially playing a little bit of defense. So it sounds like all they're missing is, like you were saying, that versatile 4, and it can really change the direction of the team.
I think a 4 and a backup center too, because while Jalen Williams has been phenomenal from a passing and shooting perspective, he really doesn't have the defense or the size to be a rim protector or a rebounder, which is really what they need on that bench. So, a guy like Andre Drummond, Clint Capella, that kind of archetype of the rim runner, rebounder would also be very useful off the bench against, Minnesota has a lot of size, Naz Reid coming off the bench, Gobert, Towns, teams like that could be a problem for the second unit.
So let me ask you this. I'm actually trying to look that up right now because Kurt Affair actually put it in the screen. They have, God, I knew the number, but now I don't. Especially after the trade that they just were a part of, that it was kind of curious because they can actually essentially throw first round picks into a trade just to gamble to see if they can get better first round picks like they did in their previous trade that you're familiar with. How many picks do they have right now to let's say 2030? Is it in the high teens for both first and second round picks, or am I mistaken?
I believe it's 17 first round picks until 2030, and
Good
then
God.
a lot of second round picks too.
I think it's in the 20s. It's either in the yeah, I think it's right around 20.
So I have the
Yeah.
I have the list. I have the list here, gentlemen.
Okay. Does it go off the page? Is what I'm at.
So in 2023, they have 3 first round picks, 3 second round picks. In 2025, they have 2 and 4. In 2026, 3 and 3. In 2027, 1 and 4. They have an abundance of picks that and Gerald, and Braxton, we've seen it time and time again. You don't need a whole lot of second round picks to find a gem or two. You just have to find the right player in the right situation, and obviously it's circumstance with draft night and all that. But they're loaded for bear to try and improve this team in any which way they can. And like you said, Braxton, I remember us talking previously in the summer. You said that, you know what, at the time, the the Clippers made a gambit that they didn't think SGA would be this good this fast, because if they had known that, they never would have made that trade. I just they never would have made that trade, and they gambled and they lost, and now it's the Thunder who are advantageous in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fault the Clippers for making the move because if you can get Paul George and Kawhi Leonard in their primes together, you have to do it. I mean, you have to go for the championship with those two. And they look great this year. You know, they could make a run, they could get that elusive title. And if they do, it pays off. So I don't really fault them for making the move, although OKC has definitely been the winner of it so far.
Absolutely. And again, they are at such a liberty to go ahead and do pretty much, they control so much of what can go on, whether it's the trade deadline or maneuvers going forward. Just the fact that just not even if they have to go ahead and say or whisper or rumors or anything, all they have to do is just be there and be present. And people will think, okay, am I going to get outbid by OKC? Maybe I'll just have to throw in another second. Or, my gosh, OKC's got all those assets. Man, I guess let me see if I can throw in this extra player and maybe that'll sweeten the deal. So,
Gerald, that's
just by them being OKC in that position, it's just angers me. It angers me that we're not in this position as Lakers fans. Rob Pelinka.
That's an excellent point, Gerald. It's
Yes.
and far be it from me, I'm a deep thinker, but that's a great point. I mean, they control a lot of the destiny of other teams now, just based on overanalyzation of the war chest they have and how scared or how anxious you are to make a deal. That's a great point, Gerald.
They just have to be doing what they're doing. They don't even have to be a part of the conversation to be a part of the conversation. That's just because they have so many assets right now that they can throw at more than anybody else. And it's just, and you know what? Actually, JSJ, I'm going to give him a lot of credit because he put me in my place because he said, you know what? We'd be in the same position or something similar if we didn't get LeBron or if LeBron didn't come here. So that kind of changed our whole timeline. And you know what? We got the 2020 chip, something that your team is trying to go ahead and get. The thing is, though, I see Sam Presti's ultimate goals, not just for a championship, is to be at that level, to be in that conversation for the rest of the decade. And right now, it's really hard to bet against him. And I know we're gushing all over OKC. A lot of it's just envy that how that organization is being run compared to the way that ours is being run right now, Braxton.
Yeah, Sam Presti, former member of the Spurs organization, I think he looks at Tim Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker, and he sees that dynasty of the 2000s, and he wants to build that. That's his goal. And I think he took a lot of culture from the Spurs and team building and, selecting the right coach from Pop. All these factors that he learned from San Antonio, I think he's used to build OKC, where he's trying to build this dynasty that they built in, a similar blueprint.
Well, let me ask you this as we go ahead and finish up our conversation. Plus, you need to go ahead and make sure you let everybody know where to catch you and all your great work. Today, it is Braxton Reynolds. Truly appreciate the time that you take in talking to us and speaking to us. We've talked about all the good things and what's being said or done right now with OKC and how bright a future that you guys have. Similar to what we talked about before, but even more so now that they have a chance to go ahead and are at the top of the Western Conference. Let's talk about the Lakers, who have been, as Magic Man and I have waded through the season, tried to provide therapy for all the people out there. What's going on with the Lakers? We'll get into a preview here in a little bit. We'll figure out what we're going to do because Laker Tom is canceled, Magic Man, so we might have to stay on the air, you and I, a little bit longer this evening for a full game preview. But when it comes right down to it, the Lakers are in the same position, Braxton, that they were last year. So the good news is that last year it turned out pretty darn good for them on their way to a Western Conference Finals run. What do you see right now going on with the Lakers? And do you think that, as was mentioned in our chat earlier, the best Lakers chat room that's out there, it is the Lakers Fast Break, that there's a possibility that LA and OKC could meet somewhere down the road in April?
I'm working on an article right now. I'm going to publish in a few days of predicting champions using advanced metrics from the last 25 years. And Lakers fans might not want to see that article when it comes out.
We don't want to see any articles right now, to be honest with you, from anyone, to be quite honest. But we do anyways. We just glutton for punishment.
So net effective field goal percentage, it's just field goal percentage, but adjusted for the fact that threes are worth more than twos. So, a guy could have a larger field goal percentage, but score less points because he makes more threes. So net effective field goal percentage is your own minus your opponent's. Lakers are currently 14th, which, is average. Last 25 champions, 23 were top 6 in their respective regular season. 25 were top 9. So if you are not top 9 in that stat, it says you can't win. And to me, it's the shooting, it's the defense. I mean, the Lakers are 22nd in 3-point percentage. They just don't have reliable guys they can throw around LeBron and AD to knock down.
They were the highest. That's the highest they've been all season is 22nd. They've mainly been around 26 to 30, to be honest with you.
And it's a shooting game today. You can't win if you don't shoot well. I don't think LeBron, I don't want to diminish him at this age, but I don't think he's capable of 2020 LeBron, where he can carry this team to a championship at this stage of his career without good shooting and without Davis being Davis. That's one concern for me. And then second, defensively, they give up the 5th most open plus wide open 3-point attempts per 100 possessions. They give up the most made threes per game. I think their point of attack defense, it's kind of weak right now. Ball handlers are just penetrating. They're getting inside. They're kicking it out. If they can upgrade that, then, it goes both ways of the defense and the offense improving, and they can get into the target range of the net effective field goal percentage. So for me, they have to make a move to get point of attack defense, and they have to get 3-point shooting at this deadline.
Sounds good. For what we can do, you're right on the button because we've been talking about those same things ourselves. Magic Man, any more questions for Braxton?
Braxton, as an outsider, I love asking people this particular question. Is there any skill you find that Darvin Ham is, say, at least average to above average with other coaches? Because it just seems that no matter what coach, and by the way, he's been outcoached by just about everybody this year, excluding Wes Unseld Jr. Is there any particular facet of coaching and in-game management that you find that he is either average or very good at?
That's a tough question because I'm trying to rack my mind and one answer is not popping up. I think, maybe locker room chemistry, just keeping the guys positive, but X's and O's, no, I don't think he's very good. I don't think he's good at making adjustments. It's pretty much LeBron as the coach right now, if you want my honest opinion on that.
100%. Braxton, the Reddit a couple weeks ago, somebody posted a small, about 8-second screenshot where LeBron and AD are both coming up the court, and it looks like Darvin Ham is calling out a play, and Braxton and LeBron did this. We got you, little bro. You can, it's almost as if, like you said, LeBron is the de facto coach out there.
It's Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels. It's the same situation. We all know Tom Brady was the offensive coordinator of that offense,
Yes.
and what he said goes. So I think, I never want to call for a job, but I don't think Darvin Ham is very good at his.
We appreciate that because we feel the same way.
Preaching to the choir, my friend. Preaching to the choir. What we see is, first impressions. You're sitting at a game. You're watching sideline, and you're seeing a coach that's active, talking to his team, active, running up and down the sideline, just basically observing, talking to the refs, seeing everything that's going on, but interacting with it. And then you see the coach across 5 feet away from you with his hands in his pockets for 48 minutes. What does that tell you? What does that say? Very little interaction with his team, very little play calling for his team, very little instructions for his team. What does that tell you? What does that say? Because that's what we've been having to deal with so far this season.
To me, I think that says they just don't respect his basketball IQ. in terms of, they respect that he's going to tell them the right play of what to do. I think they just look up to LeBron to do that. And, why shouldn't they? LeBron is one of the best offensive minds in NBA history. I think that, I think Darvin Ham would do it better for the Lakers if he did get more involved. But, I'm not sure he's willing to do it.
Once again, it is Braxton Reynolds. Please go ahead and check out what he's doing today. But before we head on out, or before he goes and does what he needs to do to cover tonight's game, because I know he's got still a lot to work on, let us know what you're working on. Let us know what you want to go ahead and get the word out, because we always like to help good friends of ours that love coming on the show right here. So please let us know, Braxton Reynolds, what's going on in your life that people need to know about on social media, articles, and whatever you're doing right now out there in the NBA.
Yeah, so I'm at BReynolds200 on Twitter. And, I'd look for that Advanced Metrics Championship article coming within this week, because I think it's pretty interesting that some teams you would think are in contention might actually not be, based on what the last 25 years have shown us. So I would check that out once it comes out.
Absolutely. Where would we find that, perhaps?
Be on lineups.com, and it would be on Twitter for BReynolds200.
Absolutely. And you're still doing work for thunderousintentions.com as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. Covering, trade pieces potentially, and, just unique articles, one-off articles.
And NBAanalysis.net as well. So yes, all those great things you can find. He is working hard, not only lineups.com, not only thunderousintentions.com, but NBAanalysis.net. It is Braxton Reynolds. I'm so glad that you actually had time to talk to us. All those media outlets you're working on. Man, that's a full plate, my friend.
It is, but, you get diverse kind of articles on each site. So it's good. Absolutely.
But looking forward to tonight's matchup. As much as we are happy for your success, because you've been such a great guest, and the success of the OKC Thunder, we're going to have to say, you know what? We want the Lakers to win a little bit more tonight. We need it more than the OKC Thunder. As much as a win would tie you guys into the top of the Western Conference, you have more games to go ahead and catch up. Minnesota's a little bit on the downslide. So, you know what? We could use the victory a little bit more tonight. So we'll see what happens, my friend. But any last thoughts for us before you head on out, Braxton?
I would say, what is your ideal trade target for Los Angeles? Because they don't have many assets to give up, not many first-round picks. So, would DeJounte Murray be your ideal target?
It's not an ideal. I actually started the DeJounte rumors way back before. I threw his name out there months ago, and I am going to pat myself on the back. I usually don't like to do that, but I am going to pat myself on the back because everybody else picked up on it. He fits. He checks the boxes of enough things to say yay, but he's not a perfect answer. I mean, the best trade target are untouchable individuals that are playing in the NBA right now. We just don't have enough assets. The problem is we're going into this trade deadline with less assets than we had this time last year. We have less first rounders to offer. We don't have a $30 million contract to unload that's expiring. So we don't have these things. We have to make that up for in bulk. Okay, we'll throw you this tweener as far as this guy 15 to 20 million, this guy to 15, 10 to 20 million in order to bundle up to get these higher packages. If Murray comes with, let's say, a Capella or a Bogdanovic, I think it makes the pot just sweeter. I think that's probably the best option. I know Zach LaVine conveniently has played better as of late, coming back from his injury. Imagine that, but he's been shooting better as well, which again, for the Lakers, is something they sorely need. But $150 million contract, bad knees, getting close to 30, and he can't play D. That's not a great that's not a great combination. That's also something that we saw before in Russell Westbrook, as far as maybe that type of deal. That has the higher possibility of going bad than DeJounte Murray. So I'd probably say of the two, that those are the two main talked about targets. I know that there's others, like for you guys, us as well in the Utah, the other usual suspects as well. But really for the Lakers, there's no one magical fix I see that's going to change their fortunes like it did this time last year at the trade deadline. It's just hard for me to see it. Now I'm hoping I'm wrong, but yeah, I just don't see that one magical change that's gonna just
we
revamp the
need,
roster in the right
yeah,
way.
we honestly, Braxton, we need sort of like a Kurt Vonnegut Deus Ex Machina to like 3 or 4 like really good players that naturally fit to, I think, kind of churn something into, you know,
I don't mind
something
being wrong,
productive.
Darren. It's Joe that's the one that always says, "Yeah, in hindsight, I think I knew that was going to happen." Come on, Joe.
Yeah,
Come on.
exactly.
No.
But I think honestly, Braxton, I think if Pelinka tried to expand a deal like he did last year, I think that's kind of the only way you can kind of churn something into positive, because Murray would help. Gerald's right. I think that
But he's not perfect
he's
answer.
not perfect answer. If you could
If he
add
was, he wouldn't be trade eligible.
exactly. If you could add expand that to add like a Clint Capella and or maybe a Bogdan, who I seriously doubt the Hawks would trade him to the Lakers.
I
But
would love to package
I
all three for
I
him,
would
Capella. That would just like in one
yeah.
swoop take care of a lot
I
of the
really
Lakers
covet
issues.
Bogdan. I love his game. I think he'd be like the ideal 3 score facilitator for the Lakers. If Rob somehow did that, I think you could turn another second half into what they did last year. Other than that, I'm with Gerald. I think Murray checks off a lot of boxes, but we'd still be in a deficit.
Yeah, I think one name, I'm not sure Chicago would give him up, but Alex Caruso reunion, that's the perfect player that Los Angeles needs. That point of attack defense with AD, that would be very, very good.
That's true. We've talked about Alex
Mhm.
Caruso quite a bit, but he is going to go out to the highest bidder. And I think that OKC, to be honest with you, might be one of those bidders. And if that's the case, if there's more than one bidder with a whole bunch of draft picks, yeah, forget about it. Because Chicago needs all the help it can get in rebuilding. And the first place I'd try to is not just physical assets that can play now or with good contracts. It's also about getting those draft picks with Alex Caruso. And, the more he's wanted, the ante, who was it? Was it Joe that said no, Sean, to 2 draft picks, or thought it was crazy that they would ask for 2 first round draft picks for Caruso?
Yeah,
I
except
don't think it's
that's
crazy
the
now.
go.
Not
Yeah,
crazy at all.
I think that's the bare minimum that you would even have a conversation with them about. I
Yeah.
agree. I was
I
surprised
mean,
you
as
said
long
that
as,
myself.
again, OKC is in the conversation.
Yeah, that's the problem. Chicago can just say, what's your best offer? I have a phone call with Sam Presti tomorrow. Just want to put that out there. Maybe up
Exactly.
your offer a little bit.
And Braxton, we had Hoops Hype writer Sam Yip on the show Friday, and both myself and Gerald both asked Sam specifically about Chicago's maybe desirous intentions to perhaps get as much as they can for Caruso, and he was saying of all the players that might be available on that roster, he would put DeRozan, Vooch, and who else did he say? Who else did he put before Caruso, Gerald? Was it Zach LaVine? That's it.
Yeah,
Those
Zach
three.
LaVine. Yeah.
Those 3.
Williams probably be another name that's
Another
out
one,
there.
yeah. So you're talking about 3 or 4 guys that you'd have to quell Chicago's thirst to get rid of in order to even talk about Caruso. So that just shows how much, he means to their culture and how they feel about. He has in the Midwest, other than Anas Antetokounmpo, he's got the second highest selling jersey in the Midwest right now in the NBA.
Impressive. Yes, very impressive. Just an FYI, right now they're seeing how it is with SGA's knee. It's a game time decision, so we'll see what happens with knee sprain on that. God forbid he would not be able to play. Oh darn, That would be terrible for us, the Lakers fans. And he could, you know what? Give him a night off there, Braxton. Give him a night off. It's okay. It's okay. We'll let him have the night off. How about that? How about that?
I'm okay with that. I don't want a long-term injury. So if he has to sit out, he has to sit out.
That would be great for the Lakers. But I do want to tell everybody know that still deciding on what the status is of LeBron James. Still have not heard official that he is going to be in the game because he was listed as questionable with the ankle injury. Also, as well, Cam Reddish is out. I think quite a few games, Magic Man, from what I heard with that left knee sprain. They're going to hold him out for a few games and see what's going on there.
Yes, I heard that as well, Gerald, just as a precaution.
Okay. Because he was just playing in the first halves anyways and going out with that second half. So, what, Alan? Okay. All right. Whatever. But once again, it is the Lakers fast break. I swear. Okay. All right. But it is, of course, Braxton Reynolds. Please go ahead and check out his great articles at thunderousintentions.com, lineups.com, and nbaanalysis.net. I do want to go ahead and thank you so much, Braxton, for stopping by. You're welcome to stay with us till game time, but we're going to see what we can do. Probably Magic Man, since Laker Tom is canceled, how long do you want to stay in tonight until we go ahead and set up for playback? You tell me.
I got all the time you need, Gerald.
Okay, fair enough, because I'll set up for playback tonight, and it'll be on a simulcast. Let you know, all of our outlets out there will have it on the simulcast. So I think we'll go tonight till about 7:10, just to let everybody know. We'll go ahead and talk to you out there, just set it up there. So Bryson, if you want to stay on, we'll ask more questions, whatnot. But if you got to run, you let us know. You tell us, what's your choice, my friend? Let me know what you need to do.
Yeah, I have time, so
all right. So I ask you then, it's the in the Western Conference, OKC obviously is starting to, now that they're in the position that they are in, starting to eye itself at other challengers that they see as competitors for the same spots that they want. And of course, it starts with Denver. They're just cruising right now. They've been cruising all season. They've had it in pretty much in cruise control ever since the first tip. It's been apparent because they win a few, they lose a couple. Doesn't no really deal. Just as long as they're staying healthy, they're in that mode. They're in the mode when the Lakers went through their three-peat. You could just tell, Magic Man, that they were just going through the motions until it was time. Wake us up in April and we'll be good. Yeah, it looks like that for me right now for Denver. But who else out there in the Western Conference do you see as major challengers in the West for the playoff spots that, of course, now OKC and hopefully the Lakers will occupy?
Obviously the Clippers, I hate to say it, but I'm bemoaned by saying that, but it's true. You could see it all across the aesthetics, Gerald. They're a threat. They are. Look, I wouldn't necessarily not sleep on Minnesota, as we talked about. We think they're probably a very good regular season team. Not last year, but I mean, it turns out this year, Joe, we were all basically all correct about that. I think they are just missing another perimeter defender, and I think they could become a serious threat, at least to get to a Western Conference Finals. I'm not sure about a finals appearance, but if the Wolves, and I mean they're kind of bereft of draft capital as well with the Rudy Gobert acquisition. That being said, if they could find another perimeter defender, Gerald, I think Minnesota is legitimately a threat in the West.
Okay.
What
are your thoughts on what I was going to ask? What does Braxton concur with that thought from Magic?
Yeah, Jaden McDaniels and Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year caliber players. Anthony Edwards is also playing some of the best defense of his career. You have a defensive trio right there that could pretty much guard anyone and go up against anyone. I think, like you said, the point guard position, Mike Conley is very good offensively and distributing, but the defense could be a little bit better. Their bench point guard could be a little bit better defensively. I think that's the kind of the position they need to upgrade in this trade deadline. As for a contender, it's going to go as far as Anthony Edwards can bring him in terms of shot making and shot creating. I'm kind of concerned they lack a second guy that can create shots from the perimeter at a very high level and score for himself. Mike Conley, he's not really a self-creator. He's more of a facilitator. It's going to be pretty much, it remains to be seen how well Minnesota can perform. But Anthony Edwards and Cat, those two guys have to elevate their games to pretty much all NBA level for Minnesota to make the finals.
What do you think, Magic? Do you think Minnesota is legit, or do you see a fall for them in the second half?
No, I think they're legit. I really do. I think that Braxton kind of hit the nail on the head, Gerald. I think with a triad of those three defenders on the court, I think if you can accentuate that with another perimeter defender, I mean, if you added a DeLon Wright or a Monte Morris or another vet like that, I think it could definitely accentuate what they have. And as Braxton has said, what they lack really is, you can't really play Naz Reid, Karl Anthony Towns, and Rudy Gobert all at the same time in a playoff series. As great as that trio is in the front court, you can't play them all together. So you need to try and find, I believe, a veteran perimeter defender that can really hold his own in order to take the next step. Because ultimately, I think Chris Finch has really improved. I have to give him a lot of credit. Like we thought that last year was a disaster in the making for them, but he really honed in and did his homework and watched a lot of film during the summer, Gerald, and it's translated well because those guys trust him, and that's huge. And again, are they going to take a fall? It's possible, right? I mean, it is. It's not like it's a bottomless drop for them. They really don't have a glass ceiling either, given the parameters of where we are, as Braxton and yourself have mentioned about the CBA. Like, they are up against the cap too. That is a huge problem for them in trying to build around what they already have.
I will say this, though. Adam, I think, has got a little bit of a mention there when he mentioned Mike Conley. I think Mike Conley is the key for that team. If he gets hurt, that could be an issue for them. And not just because of the fact that just what he provides, guys, just what he does for that team as far as stability. We talked about it in regards to what D'Angelo Russell didn't bring for them. He is bringing for that team. And that's partly the reason why they are at the level of success they've got. Who else stands out to you, Braxton, as somebody in the West that could compete highly with the OKC Thunder, and let's just say the Denver Nuggets and Minnesota Timberwolves, if that's the case?
Yeah, I think Clippers probably are the biggest threat because
you're buying in on them.
I am, yeah. Their big wings are a problem because SGA and Jalen Williams typically get by on size. That size advantage that they have, their wingspan advantage, that goes away against the Clippers. They have long defensive wings that can really go up against them. And then offensively, they have isolation scoring, they have shooting, they have shot creation, they have playmaking. I mean, their offense is clicking right now. And then Russell Westbrook off the bench, he's not going to give you 40% from three, but he's been a very good playmaker and defender for them in that six-man role. So the Clippers are deep. They're talented. They have some superstars on their roster. So they are very scary to me for OKC.
Just again, the playoffs, once it comes around, I mean, we saw they only have one title between all those players. And just to see if they will go ahead and, as I put in there, playoff chokers, we'll have to see. I mean, they have a history of PG, playoff P. We heard that. We saw that in action there. Same thing with Harden. So we'll have to see if Kawhi, first of all, will they be healthy like the Lakers? Will they be healthy come April? And we'll see if that's the case and they can put it all together. Is there anyone else that stands out to you? The Dallas has fallen a little bit off the radar, a little bit, because their defense has come back to earth, so to speak, even though their offense is still at a premium.
I think.
And then the Kings as well. Kings and Dallas, after playing really well to start, have kind of normalized where they're at, I think, in the Western Conference.
I think the Kings are exactly who we think they are. I think at best they're maybe a one and done. I think they could definitely probably win a round, depending on the matchup, Gerald. As you know, last year showed Golden State just barely by the skin of their teeth, beat them. Dominated in a game 7, but regardless, it went to a game 7. Gerald, we've talked about the Pelicans. They are wishy-washy at best. It's almost as if they have the opposite problem that the Lakers do. If they can roll out to a 20 and 25 point lead, they just can't keep it because their defense is just, for whatever reason, it's just a step or two below their offense, which is surprising given the reputation of their head coach, Willie Green, who Willie was a really, really dogged defender. He really busted his hump. And you would think that might translate into, kind of the DNA of his team, but it really hasn't. I mean, New Orleans goes as far as Zion goes. If Zion is engaged defensively, it seems that, other guys can pick up a little bit of slack. But even then, I don't think they have a glass ceiling like OKC, Denver, or even the Wolves do. I think they're at best a one and done team as well. Gerald, what's going on with Dallas? It just feels that they cannot, and I'd love to get Braxton's thought on this as well. It just feels that they cannot find a group or a core around Luka Doncic to kind of propel themselves into contendership. He seems to never have that third guy, and almost is kind of on an island in the playoffs, Gerald. We saw that first series against the Clippers. They needed all of Luka just to get it to 6 games. And I just think that for some reason, I think there's a disconnect, Gerald, between, and we talked about this with the We Talk Mavs. I just think there's a disconnect between what Nico Harrison thinks will win a championship and what Jason Kidd thinks will win a championship. And I think all three of us can agree. I mean, if Darvin Ham is a ham sandwich as a head coach, I mean, Jason Kidd is, vanilla paste.
Well, Jason Kidd just watches the games, just like all of us. That's what I thought. That's what you said. Braxton, anything to add on that as regards to the rest of the teams right now that are battling for spots in Western Conference? But there's one team that you didn't mention, Magic Man, which we'll go ahead and cover here in a second.
Yeah, so to me, I'm not too worried about New Orleans. Jonas Valanciunas, he's a below-the-rim guy that doesn't have much athleticism. The defense is bad. I mean, the rim protection's not there, and it kind of forces them to collapse inside. They give up the second most open plus wide open 3-point attempts because of that. I mean, they're constantly rotating. They have to shift their defense around Valanciunas. I don't think they're sustainable long-term. I don't think the offensive fit is great between Brandon Ingram, Zion, and Valanciunas. I don't think, I think, like you said, they're a one and done at their very best.
Jonas would actually be better on the Lakers because he has someone alongside him in AD that is a rim protector. And I think with the way that Jonas can stretch the floor and the way that Jonas can rebound, it works very well for both of them, if that would be the case.
I think the mobility might be a problem there if you have AD and Valanciunas on the court. I'm not really sure what to make of Valanciunas at this point, whether he can be a playoff starter or not. I just don't think the defense is up to that level. And then,
how about someone like Ivica Zubac, who's been playing a lot better now that he's gotten in with those four, especially with Harden and him working on that pick and roll?
Yeah, I mean, he's an underrated defender. I think if you're talking about defensive centers, his name isn't brought up enough in terms of what he does in the pick and roll. And
statistically, one of the best right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I would much rather have Zubac than Valanciunas, even though he doesn't have the range that Valanciunas has.
There you go. But
Gerald,
both worlds there.
Yeah, we're talking about this, right? We could have used Daniel Tice. We could have used him. Where the hell was Pelinka on that one?
Well, the
They've
thing
got
was,
Daniel Tice and Zubats.
well, the thing is, the league didn't look into it. When Daniel Tice was waived, instantly Wojnarowski knew exactly
Reported that. Yeah, he knew.
where he was going. So something was fishy in Denmark there, as the saying goes. So yeah, I just thought that was something very strange indeed. But the one team I want to ask about, it's not Utah, because Utah obviously is playing a little bit above their heads as well again this year. We'll see if they fade down the stretch like they did last year, or that they continue with their success, because they certainly look good against the Lakers on Saturday. Can they sustain that momentum? We'll have to wait and see. But the one team I want to ask you guys about before we go anywhere is the Golden State Warriors. That's a mess. They lost tonight with virtually no major names in the lineup, and Triple J going 4 for 20 tonight. Gigi Jackson, who is making Rob Pelinka look even dumber, because he is now playing extremely well for Memphis right now. Another 2023 draft choice the Lakers could have gotten that they didn't get. Yeah, Golden State, that's issued. At least their draft picks are playing well for them, Braxton. But as a whole, this team is just about as big of a mess, Braxton, as the Lakers are as well.
Yeah, I mean, part of the problem was Draymond Green was out. I mean, he's their defensive leader. He's their actually best playmaker. It's not Curry. It's actually Draymond. And it allows Curry to have his off-ball actions. So him back in the lineup with Curry, they're still going to be good. Klay Thompson, to me, and Andrew Wiggins have both been just horrible. They can't really shoot as well as they used to, and the defense has fallen off dramatically. At this stage of their careers, Klay is just too old, and that injury really killed his lateral movement. So he doesn't really move well on the perimeter. And then Wiggins defensively, it just seems like his head is not in the game at all. I mean, it just doesn't look like he's focused at times. And he's not the same Wiggins that was the same during the 2022 finals. If those two guys can kind of, find their old selves and get back to that core four, plus Looney, plus Pods, I think they could make, maybe one round, maybe 2 rounds. But overall, I just don't think this team is a championship team as currently constructed. I don't think they have the offense around Curry to really create shots at a high level against playoff defenses.
Magic Man, you concur with that? Draymond Green comes into as far as off the bench tonight, does give them a contribution, but I see in the long term, as far as it's concerned, the more time he plays, the less time that their young guys get a chance to develop. And I see Kuminga now coming off the bench, Trace Jackson Davis, who is starting now, coming off the bench. And I don't know, for the long term, it's starting to look like maybe the Golden State should look at other ways and other directions. They have an avenue for tanking because they have guys that they can look at long term, whereas the Lakers we just don't have those options right now. That's the thing. So your thoughts though on Golden State, because again, that would not be a popular move if they tanked again, but they have a worse record than even the Lakers, and it's looking more and more like that may happen.
Yes, and Gerald, we've talked about this, but this was a couple years ago, that Golden State was going to be challenged the older Steph Curry got, because as great as an offensive force as he was in his prime and still can be at times, defensively his game does not age well. He's 6'3". He's a little on the smaller side as far as guard is concerned. He has lost a step as far as getting over screens, and now he mostly goes under screens, Gerald. And the Warriors are not better for it. They just don't have the requisite perimeter defense to supplant or accentuate their strength and kind of hide his flaws. Klay's injuries aside, which were obviously significant to this development that they're dealing with, but the fact of the matter is, there's always going to be a shelf life for this team defensively. And Draymond Green, as former defensive player of the year. He's not the same guy he was either. You know, and we're seeing it with LeBron. And I think, gentlemen, we can all agree, you know what, at 37, 38, your brain, your critical thinking is probably at its peak. Your body, on the other hand, when you're playing a young man's game, it just doesn't translate. And although the mind probably wants to do what it wants, the body won't allow it. And I think that we're just finding that out, Gerald, with the Golden State Warriors. Age is not a fine wine with this team defensively.
What are your thoughts on that, Braxton, as far as Golden State? Do you think it's just at this point they should go ahead and look to greener pastures at this point?
Well, they had their chance to really capitalize on Kuminga and Moody and trade them when, you know, they were talking about the 2 timeline thing of compete now, have your young guys ready to supplant Clay, Draymond, Curry when they get too old. That was a mistake. I mean, you cannot have a 2 timeline thing in the NBA. It's too hard to do it. So they should have traded them when they could have. Now their young guys have lost their value because they don't play them, because they're trying to contend. And there's not many trade targets they could use for them. I would say defensively, it's tough because they don't have wing defense. I mean, that's my biggest problem for them. Clay and Wiggins are just not doing their job defensively. And at this stage of Curry's career, like you said, he's pretty much declined to a negative defender. He used to be a plus defender when people kind of thought he was negative, but now he's actually negative. And it really hurts them because they don't have the guys around him to, you know, compensate for that deficiency. I think Golden State has to get defense at the deadline, and they have to get, like, you know, a Jordan Clarkson kind of scorer off the bench that can alleviate some of Curry's burden when he sits and give him some sort of juice. You know, Jordan Poole, as much as we want to, you know, hold him responsible for the 2023 disaster, he's a big reason why they won in 2022. I mean, it was his off the dribble scoring, his offensive juice that really propelled him to a title, and they need that kind of guy back. So if they get that guy and they get some wing defense, maybe they can make a run. I would still have a bunch of teams over them, though. I mean, Denver is the top dog to me. They're going to be hard to overcome. Minnesota, OKC, the Clippers, Sacramento could be dangerous for a round. I mean, there's just so many teams in this conference that could legitimately convince themselves that they're a playoff team. That's the problem.
Once again, it is Braxton Reynolds. Please go ahead and check out all the great work that he's up to doing today. And I'll give you the links here before we head on out as well. We'll remind you exactly where to go ahead and check out his stuff. But before we head on out, guys, your thoughts on the Eastern Conference. Right now, it just seems to be like the Celtics are dominant. Milwaukee's winning its games. They're outscoring everybody. And then Philadelphia is just like that wild card. And do they want to go ahead and sacrifice some of their free cap space now to see if they can compete a little bit better against Boston? So that seems to be it for me as far as I think it's a 3-team race. I think that any one of those 3 teams, that's it. You could throw in a 4-team in there as far as from any of the plethora of 20 and 14 teams that are out there in the Eastern Conference. And I just don't think any of them match up to those 3, whether it's the Knicks, maybe Miami, if you know, because I don't want to short Miami too much, because every time you short Miami, they seem to go ahead and find a playoff run in them. But your thoughts and perceptions on the Eastern Conference, because if OKC is playing at the level it needs to, and that it is playing right now, you might have to start looking at some of those East Coast teams as well.
Yeah, so to me, it's Boston in that top tier and no one else. I think Boston's ahead of pretty much everyone but Denver in the NBA. Their starting lineup, it's so perfect defensively and offensively. I mean, all their skills mesh perfectly, and you see it in their production. They outscore opponents by over 20 points per 100 possessions when that starting lineup is on the court. And if they add some depth like they do it at the deadline, I think they get a bigger forward. Maybe, Torrey Craig could be a good buy low when he comes back from injury. That kind of player, a bigger forward, 3-and-D, bolster their bench, and that team is the top team in the East to me. I don't think Milwaukee's defense gets them over Boston. Philly's missing a third guy. Miami's missing a third guy. And then the Knicks, I don't trust Julius Randle at all. I mean, they're a good regular season team, but in the playoffs, I'm not a Randle guy. The numbers are not Randle's guy either. I think it's just Boston.
Okay. I can't argue with that, unfortunately. As much as we hate the green guys over here, it's just hard to fathom right now. Magic Man, I don't want to discount Milwaukee because they are, with whatever limited assets they have, they are, I think, one tweak away from getting closer to that level with Boston. They still have to find some sort of defense with Milwaukee because they're just outscoring people. And it's not even, funny the way they're just lighting people up. But then you have Philadelphia, and I don't know. I think that the wild card in all the situation, what they can do, what they want to commit to going forward. Do they go ahead and give up some of their summer and their future cap space that they can sign other players later on in order to get more competitive now? So your thoughts, my friend, on the Eastern Conference?
Mori gonna Mori. He's gonna wait till the summer. Unfortunately, that's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think it's 2 step forwards, 1 step back for the Sixers if he does that, Gerald, because they need to be on a timeline where they're trying to win now. Look, Embiid's contract a couple years ago looked pretty fortuitous for the Sixers, but every year that goes by, Gerald, and by the way, he may win his second MVP in a row this year. We'll see if that trend continues. That being said, they need to add to that group. We know that, for example, Tobias Harris is a very good player. Forget his contract. He fits in to what they want to do. But you need to add perimeter defense to that team. If you can add an Alex Caruso to the Philadelphia 76ers, I think they definitely can compete with the Bucks. And I think, although I would still favor the Celtics, I think they might be able to give them a little bit of a scare. But yeah, I agree, Gerald. And Braxton, Morey has to do something to build a better defensive team, especially on the perimeter around Embiid. And it's like you said, Gerald, it's incumbent upon him to sacrifice some of the summer money this year in order to try and do that, because we've seen it before, Gerald, with Morey. It's a home run or a strikeout for him in the summer. He either really hits a grand slam or he just swings and misses. And if that happens again this summer, I mean, it's not. He's not on the hot seat or anything, but it's almost as if the Sixers are just doing Sixer things. I also would say this, Gerald. The 2 most disappointing teams in the Eastern Conference are the Detroit Pistons and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Detroit, obviously, for a myriad of reasons, they've fallen precipitously bad, Gerald. Some of us thought they might be competing for a play-in tournament this year, and my goodness, they're drowning badly. And the Cavs, to me, Gerald, have that youth has really taken a step back. And you have Donovan Mitchell's impending free agency hovering over your head. And, we thought that maybe if the moves that they made with bringing in Strus and Yang would benefit them, at best, there's been mixed results. It's a mixed bag with those two, especially with that team. And they've really disappointed as far as I'm concerned. I'm not sure if you and Braxton would agree, but, going from potentially being, a top 3, top 4 team last year to now kind of, you could vault yourself into a home court advantage, but you could also play yourself into a play-in situation. So I'm really surprised that that team in particular, with Kobe Altman's ability to draft well, has not been able to move the needle.
Once again, go ahead, Braxton, please.
Yeah, for me, Cleveland made 2 errors in roster building. they had two bigs that can't shoot, and they had two backcourt guards that are undersized and can't defend. So Mobley, Allen just don't work together. The offense isn't going to work with no shooting. And if you don't have any perimeter defense with Garland and Mitchell, you can't defend at all because the point of the attack is, outside of rim protection, it's the second best thing for defense. So to me, it's a collection of talented pieces that just don't fit.
I'll tell you what, though, your insight for both you guys is just amazing. It is, of course, Braxton Reynolds. Please go ahead and check out what Braxton is doing today at lineups.com, thunderousintentions.com, at NBAanalysis.net, along with the Magic Man, Sean Grites. It's me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching and listening. Truly appreciated. Kurt Affair brought up a great question. Who does Braxton think will be under the radar buyout candidates coming up here after the trade deadline, Braxton?
Probably say Gordon Hayward. I don't think Charlotte is going to move him for any assets, and he has a massive contract expiring. I think they just buy him out, play their young guys, and let him go to a spot where he can be, a seventh man off the bench, maybe a sixth man, and give him some shooting, some playmaking, a little bit of self-creation off the wing. So that would be my top guy. I think hits the buyout market. A lot of teams would be fighting for him.
It's interesting right now, guys, because Magic Man, before I hit you up with that question, I'm actually watching the Lakers shoot around right now on playback, and Darvin Ham and Rob Pelinka are just sitting at the first row together, just laughing up, just talking, just like chatting, just like nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong between them. Everything's good. Lakers are fine. Nothing, no problem at all. 1921. It's okay. Did this last year. We'll bail you out of it this time again. Yeah, whatever. But when it comes right down to it, it kind of irritates me, like the way it irritates Joe as far as the glad handing and stuff like that. I mean, if I'm 19 and 21 and I'm on right now, wouldn't be the happiest camper in the world, but okay. Then.
Yeah, no, I want to see a little Bill Russell, Gerald, with the coaching the Kings, falling asleep during practice, and the guys laughing at him, and him waking up and saying, "Well, if you guys weren't so boring, I wouldn't fall asleep."
And just an update: Ham is sitting down talking to Rob, but there is no hands in the pockets at this point in time. So we'll just go ahead and leave that there. But Magic Man, I bring the question to you.
Well, there must be some pretty women that's sitting in the front row, Gerald.
No, it's pretty empty seats right now. Pretty empty seats. But need I digress on that? Good point, though. Good summation. But when I ask you now is what Kurt Affair asked, and that is potential buyout candidates you see becoming available on the marketplace after the trade deadline. Gordon Hayward, I thought it was an excellent observation on that one.
Yeah, very good. It really depends. I think Washington may have to make a few decisions here. I
think just picked up the sparkling new acquisition of Marvin Bagley III.
Absolutely. It looks as though the Pistons are going to try and game somebody into Danilo Gallinari if he plays well enough. I wouldn't bite on that personally, but that seems the way they're going. I would say DeLon Wright, given the fact that both Wright and Morris have had injury problems this year, Gerald, it might have stunted or stalled both those teams' ability to try and get a couple second round picks for them. So I'd look at circle those two guys. The Spurs traditionally don't do this, but it may come where they actually give McBuckets the option if he wants to be bought out to try and find a contender
right there.
Yeah. I think although that's not their style, something tells me that that team would try and talk themselves or ask him if he would do that. So I would circle.
Graham has more years on his contract, right? Devontae Graham.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
So he's not gonna. Yeah.
I think another surprising one, and it could be a result of Masai Ujiri finally having to just bite the pillow and live with this, is Gary Trent Jr., Gerald. at this point in time last year, there was a and it was in all over the city of Toronto. There was a 3-year contract that Trent and his father were negotiating with Ujiri that they thought was going to be presented to them, and it never has. And I think teams are hesitant or unwilling to give Ujiri what he wants for Gary Trent Jr. So don't be surprised. I realize it's a lot of money, but don't be surprised if they have to bite the bullet in that situation to mitigate that situation, because you know Gary on the right in the right fit is a very good player. Is a very good player in his role. It hasn't worked out in Toronto, and I think something's going to come ahead in that situation. They're either going to buy him out, or somebody's finally going to pull the trigger and think he can turn their team and vault them into either a solid top 6 or a contender.
Absolutely. Truly appreciate everyone out there on Facebook and also as well YouTube. It is the Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate you joining us. Also as well on Twitter. Go ahead and follow us today on Twitter to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break podcast. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice, Braxton Reynolds. Please go ahead and follow Braxton Reynolds. Do you have social media? I forgot because we go and connect through LinkedIn. So do you have any Twitter or Instagram or anything that you want people to follow you as well, my friend?
Yeah, so B Reynolds 200 on Twitter is where I post all my articles, along with just being on the site.
There you go. Absolutely. And once again, those sites are as follows: NBAanalysis.net, thunderousintentions.com, and lineups.com. You've been tremendous as always for staying on with us. Laker Tom unfortunately had to postpone his latest appearance, so hopefully we can go ahead and get Laker Tom on the show here imminently. But it is the Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate everyone out there watching, listening. Have not gotten a confirmation on the lineups as of yet, and confirmation that LeBron is just got it right now. 39 seconds from Mike Trudell. LeBron, AD, and Russell are available for this evening. Russell was kind of looking iffy as well, but yes, D'Angelo Russell with the illness, LeBron and AD are all playing in today's game. So we'll see what kind of lineup that they throw out there. Again, Magic Man, when it comes right down to it, and I want to hear Braxton's thoughts on this. I threw out there, again, if you want to go with the lineup that got you to the dance in the playoffs with Austin and D'Lo in your backcourt, Jared Vanderbilt with his sparkling 15% three-point shooting, he would be at your small forward, and then LeBron and AD. I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna, if you put if you put D'Lo and AR out there, Braxton, you got to live with the fact that they just cannot defend. They have to score like they did in Utah. They have to shoot efficiently like they did in Utah, but you are going to give up a ton on the other end. I was thinking that, he's not a great defender himself, but he can provide and stretch the floor. He has been playing in his spots decently this season. And he's a Magic Man enigma, and that Magic Man has been so adamant about seeing him get more playing time. He really thinks, and I'm beginning to think too, that Darvin Ham might have some issues with him. That's Rui Hachimura. Rui Hachimura's season has not gone the way we had hoped because of injuries and because of just lack of playing time. So why not put him in the starting lineup? So I've got this. I've got D'Lo and AR in the backcourt, Rui, and then LeBron, AD. We've been a jumbled mess on our starting lineups, unlike you guys who've been pretty solid pretty much all year long. Your thoughts on a lineup like that throwing out there by the Lakers?
I think Prince should be the starting small forward. I think he brings enough defense where he also has the shooting. So the 3-and-D piece, I think you need that. Vanderbilt, to me, the offense just doesn't work. I mean, I don't think he can play during the postseason. I think he's going to be played off the court because teams just sag inside. They don't respect his shot, and it makes it much harder for LeBron and Davis to get to the rim without extra defenders, tagging along for the ride. I don't think Vanderbilt can be that guy. I think Prince, LeBron, AD, I'd probably go Reeves they don't have a fifth guy. I mean, I think that's what they need. They need a 3-and-D guard, but at this point, it would have to be Russell. I just think his shooting and shot creation is too important, and you have to live with the defense. I think Davis and LeBron have to step up and do enough defensively where they are outscoring opponents.
I mean, I'm going to say, and I've said it before on this show, I think Austin Reeves' ultimate best position going forward, whether it's with the Lakers or somebody else, is a sixth man coming off the bench. I really think that he accentuates his strengths playing against second teamers when he gets lined up, like we saw last time SGA played up against Austin and absolutely roasted him continuously on, I think it was like 4 or 5 straight possessions. I'm asking myself, this is ugly and this is not pretty at all, because SGA knew exactly where to go and knew exactly to hit. I just think that Austin Reeves' eventual position, if the in a team or championship winning team or even a team with depth, would be a 6-man off the bench. But right now, for what the Lakers need, Magic Man, I think ultimately you have to start him right now. For ultimately what the Lakers need right now and what they have right now, I don't think you have a choice.
I agree, Gerald, 100%. I think his glass ceiling is a 6-man on a contender. That's kind of the best you're going to get. And as you said, it's circumstances, and blank hitting the fan is where we are right now. And yes, he's got to start. I agree 100%. You got to live with the fact that you're going to be at a very, very great deficit defensively with those two. That being said, Gerald, we talked about this before. Rui Hashimura and D'Angelo Russell are 1-2 in terms of plus minus for the Lakers. Make of that what you will, but the fact is that Darvin Ham has a personality conflict with both of those players, and yet they're the two positives for the Lakers thus far during the season. So and D'Lo was right. Give him credit. He was right in the short time span that they both were starting. The Lakers won a lot of games. They did. Hate to quote Bill Belichick again, but stats are for losers. Winners care about the final result. And if it means wins, Gerald, play the two together for God's sakes. But it just feels that we've got a coach who just wants to do things his way, good or bad.
Well, I'm just going to say I was happy what Braxton said earlier about Darvin Ham and his coaching, and that he's not too impressed by his coaching skills. So I truly appreciate that. But before we head on out, obviously you want to touch back on your team, the OKC Thunder. I've not seen as of yet 100% if SGA is in or out of the game right now. Have you heard any updates on if SGA is in or out of the game tonight, Braxton?
I've heard game time decision. That's all I've heard. So okay. I don't think they know yet. I think they're going to see in warmups.
Okay. That's what I was trying to ascertain on that. So yeah, it's 7:03 right now. So we'll see how it looks for SGA tonight. But yeah, if somebody is going to go ahead and be able to affect this game, it is SGA. And if he's not in the game, what do you guys do when SGA is out? What do you look for as an individual expert on the OKC Thunder? What do you look for when SGA is out of the lineup?
Well, I think Chet gets more involved in terms of passing. In the pick and pop, that's kind of Chet's bread and butter when he plays with SGA. He sets that high ball screen, and then he leaks out to above the break where he can give that SGA that spacing. I don't think that really works without SGA because you kind of need Chet to be more involved in shot creation. I think Jalen Williams will be that main guy. I don't think Josh Giddey will take that main playmaker role. It's going to be Jalen Williams and Josh Giddey more of a connective passer instead of the featured guy. I think also they run more, off-ball screens, I think, to get guys open because they don't have SGA just creating stuff off the fly. I think Isaiah Joe would be a guy to watch for Los Angeles. He might shred them because the Lakers allow the third most above the break threes. That's where he thrives, dribble handoffs, And that might be, that might be the death sentence for Los Angeles if SGA doesn't play. It's going to be Isaiah Joe threes.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, it's been great having you on, again, providing insight on the NBA and the Oklahoma City Thunder. It is Braxton Reynolds. I hope everybody will get a chance to take a look at his great work at lineups.com, thunderousintentions.com, and NBAanalysis.net. I truly appreciate the time, the extra time, the unexpected extra time that you were able to take with us. But my friend, any last thoughts before we head on out? And I'll also send it to you off before we head on out as well, my friend.
I think what Braxton said is correct. Yeah, I'm really frightened that no SGA means a drop in intensity and focus, and that means Isaiah Joe going for like 45, Gerald.
Okay. Just want to make sure. But what's the key for Oklahoma City tonight against the Lakers, with or without SGA?
Well, I think one, they have to defend without fouling because LeBron and Davis are so good at drawing fouls, getting to the free throw line. Free throws inherently hold a high expected points per possession. You have to avoid those if you're OKC. Stay vertical. And, LeBron makes a contested layup, he makes it, but don't give him that trip to the line. I would say use Chet and pick and pops a lot because Davis is in the paint. You want to take him out and let that driving lane kind of open up. And then finally, if they trap Jalen Williams at the top, I think I would have not necessarily Chet. I think I would have Josh Giddey come up as a screener so that when they do dump it off, it's in the hands of a premier playmaker and not, for as good as Chet is as an offensive passer, he's not an elite playmaker. So I think Josh Giddey setting that screen would be, a good thing if they have traps set for Jalen Williams.
I'm going to tell you, if SGA is in the game, the idea is to make sure he doesn't live and feast at the free throw line, Magic Man. If the Lakers can do that, they have a definite chance of winning. Because as you know, Braxton, he feasts off of. I've just seen he's just so creative as getting people into foul trouble, getting that call. He's able to manipulate the refs very easily. I know that frustrates us as Lakers fans, but it is, you have it or you don't have it, that skill. It just seems to be, there's certain amount of players who just know how to manipulate as far as and get the number of free throws that they do. And I know SGA, a lot of his scoring comes at the free throw line. So if we can keep him off the free throw line, rebound well, and get in transition, Magic Man, I think we can go ahead and get a victory tonight.
Absolutely, Gerald. I'll add another wrinkle. I mean, facilitate, share the ball, because Chet is a veritable Swiss Army knife. And if we play that happy-go-lucky ISO with LeBron and AD, Chet's going to eat you up for lunch from the mid-post to the baseline and all the other areas elsewhere as well, Gerald. He is fantastic. Like, for a guy who's technically in his rookie year, he plays defense as if he's been in the league for 5 or 6 years already. So you really need to have your salt and pepper ready when he's in the paint. And if the Lakers aren't prepared to move the ball and move without the ball, again, he's going to eat us for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
There you go. Absolutely. Alan says, can you trade me to OKC for a dozen first-round draft picks, Alan? How about that? Yeah, because they've got them over there at OKC. My gosh, the future is looking bright. I know that's the one thing I remember most of all, me saying to you the last time, Braxton, and now it's looking even brighter with a chance and opportunity to tie for first place in the Western Conference. Hopefully, speaking respectfully, they will not get it done tonight. That they can go ahead and do that another day when they're not playing the Lakers, because the Lakers need this victory now more than ever. So it is the Lakers facing off against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Any last thoughts, my friend Braxton, before we head on out?
Yeah, I would say watch OKC's out of bounds plays because they will be very creative, and hopefully Darvin Ham is watching and takes some notes.
Don't get us started on out of bounds plays after a timeout. Yeah, that's my gosh, that's another sore subject for us. I mean, Darvin Ham just needs to take some notes. He needs to get the hands out of the pockets and start taking some notes indeed. But once again, it is the Lakers fast break. The Lakers do play here in just a few minutes against the Oklahoma City Thunder. We will go ahead and bring our conversation to you on a simulcast. That'll be simulcast. Will be ready around 7:30. So looking forward to going ahead and having that available, but we're going to prep for it now. Magic Man, my friend, thank you for the extended pregame, which actually was just going to be it was interview, which turned into a pregame. But any last thoughts, my friend, before we head on out?
Yes. Win tonight, please. Yes. Please, for the love of God, just get a win. I don't care.
This is where we're at, Braxton.
Yeah, I don't care if it's by a point.
Been there.
I don't care if it's by 5 points. I don't care if it's by 40, which not going to happen. Just win, damn it, win. I don't care how it's done. I really don't this time.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's great to have you here. Great to have everyone in the conversation. Once again, the best Lakers chat room that's out there is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Gerald Glassford, along with Magic Man Chung Grice. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Please, one last time, check out what Braxton Reynolds is doing right here at, let me see, I've got to go right here. Survey says lineups.com, thunderousintentions.com, and NBAanalysis.net. I'm going to put the links in the description so you can easily reference it, so it will not be a problem for you. There's no excuse not to check out his great work at all three of those sites. It is Braxton Reynolds. Braxton, great to have you here. Hopefully you will have the time to stop on by once again and talk NBA basketball sometime this season or whenever you can right here at the Lakers Fast Break.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. Truly appreciate you stopping by. Looking forward to the game tonight. And anytime you can stop on by, let us know. But everybody, thanks again for watching, listening. It is the Lakers Fast Break. We'll be back in just a few minutes with our simulcast available on all of our regular outlets. And then, of course, the best post game that's out there for the Lakers. There's no one better than right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.